What's the Word podcast? We back in action. And let me tell you about the show that we have today. We have the lovely Faith Evans in the house. I'm super excited for this show. Hold on, let me get the info on here. Tune in. But I hope everybody had a good weekend. Again, we're doing a special episode today for Faith Evans. You know what I'm saying? So, let me post this. So anyways, I hope everybody had a great weekend. Super looking forward to the show. Obviously, a lot of people know the history of Faith Evans. But what I'm really going to get into is she's an incredible songwriter. She's, everything she's done and she's put her hands on has turned into gold. I believe she sold about 18 million albums. I could be a little off on that number, right around there. So, I'm really interested to see Jerry. Good to see you, brother. Hope everything's all good. Really interested to get in the music part of it, just like my show usually does. Get her opinion on where the state of R&B is, nowadays. And just songwriting in general. Do people, write songs? Yeah, Pinky, actually, they will be, this will be saved, and then it'll also be on the website, the whatsthewordpodcast.com, and the What's the Word YouTube channel. So, the day after they air, you're able to go watch the replay, but it'll always also be on my my Instagram as well. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. Todd Davis, I see you. So yeah, we're gonna get into it, and again, like the songwriting part of it, is crazy to me because, we don't see it a lot. You know what I mean? Or exquisite writing, should I say? So her process, her thoughts on it, just everything. Again, it's gonna be a dope episode. And sincere, what up? Salute. So, we'll get into it. I know we didn't do a show on Saturday. We will be having Pam, formerly of Total, on after the 24th in this month. So we're definitely going to get her rescheduled. And again, we try to do these, R&B episodes to, match it up a little bit. Everybody knows, they're my followers, how much I'm into hip hop and this and that. But in general, if you really know me, you know how much I am into music, just in general. So when, we do things like this, I love the dynamics it brings. And actually, we have our guest already in. Let's see here. Boom. This is going to be super exciting. I appreciate everybody tuned in. This is going to be great right now. I love it. Get my camera going. Boom. She'll be here just shortly. And I saw somebody else say it too. Like I said, the replays will definitely be there. So, and there she is. The lovely, lovely Faith Evans. How are you doing today?
Hey, how are you?
I'm excellent. First and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time with us. I was looking so forward to this episode. It's just amazing that you're on the show, so I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure. Actually, I was getting, he was emailing me, asking me to do it for a minute, and then turns out that, my cousin, Kai, he just told me that,
Yeah. Absolutely. And Kai and I work in the same studio.
Oh, nice.
Well, our studio, we're the producers there and the engineers there, so that's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, too, I hope everybody's safe your way, because I know this is a crazy time, this 2020. But that's why I like doing the shows, because a lot of people, it's all bad right now in 2020.
Hold on. I'm sorry, because I'm...
No, you're... see here. We can't hear. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Let's see here. Let's get this audio correct. Yeah, always technical difficulties on IG. You know how that goes. This is what we do. This is what we adapt to. Let's see if I can. There we go. Now I can hear you. Perfect.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so let's do a little history. Okay, you were born in Florida, I believe Lakeland, correct?
Yes.
Moved to Jersey. So basically raised somewhere in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
1991, you decided to come to LA. Around there.
It was 92, I believe.
Okay.
It was 92 because I went to Fordham University for 1 year, and then I got pregnant with my daughter over that summer break, and I didn't go back to Fordham, so it was definitely 92.
Okay, excellent. So what was that like, that transition, moving to LA?
At that time, it was well, I was definitely just trying to get. It sounded like a good idea, but I didn't think it out. I mean, I didn't have any finances or any means of supporting myself. But my daughter China's father was a producer, Kayama Griffin, and he was a part of a production crew, and they were, kind of on the verge of getting some big deals and publishing deals, and ultimately a record deal as well, in addition to producing for a few different artists. So, it just sounded like a good idea when he told me to move to LA with him.
Yeah. And the reason I asked is because living out here, you see so many people come out here with an assumption of what it's going to be. And it's definitely different. I mean, it's tough just to up and move to LA.
Well, I mean, mind you, my moving here was not with the purpose of anything necessarily to do with me being a recording artist. That was never my ultimate goal. I knew I wanted to make money and be successful with my musical gift, but that was just around the time that I was more around people in the actual secular, music world that weren't gospel people that I knew. So that wasn't my goal for moving. It was more to be with my baby's father. Pretty much.
Okay. What turned the page and got you starting writing and singing and really saying, hey, now this is what I'm going to do professionally?
Well, I had been doing it for a very long time prior to me being able to do it professionally. I mean, I did a few, gospel records, like, what do you call them? 45s.
Yeah.
I was on a couple of those. I was writing since I was probably like 12 or 13, but in my teenage years, I learned how to produce myself, basically, and that became sort of a hobby of mine, being able to, like, I was already writing things, but now to be able to go record them somewhere where it was free, even though I had to sneak out the house to go do it, but it was worth it. Years later, I didn't really understand that then that it would be, but by the time I did meet Al B. Shore, Christopher Williams, and then ultimately Puff, I was already very, very proficient at going in the booth and arranging something, whether I wrote it or not, and making it sound really, really good.
Yeah. And that's interesting you say that, because I rapped as a young child, but the first time I started going to real studios, and again, no computers, no nothing, I hated my voice. So I told myself, if I can make my voice sound good, I can make anybody sound good. And that's what got me into kind of engineering and,
Right.
So very similar, very similar. And a lot of people don't know, we do have a lot of younger followers too on the show, but it wasn't easy to do music back then, and the equipment, and it wasn't like a Pro Tools on a computer type of thing.
Not at all. Well, the way I actually learned, I mean, prior to me being in a real big professional studio, the little home studio that I used to sneak out of my house to go to was in the Bronx in a house of this guy that had done some of the gospel songs that I recorded. But that was a Tascam cassette machine that gave you 8 tracks. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
kind of how I learned to record myself. And then once I did get into actually being in sessions and doing vocals for actual records that were really coming out, I mean, it was to tape, you know,
No. Yeah.
and even when recording my album, my first record, we would leave for hours and go to the club and come back and still have to finish recording because they had to do all of that cutting the tape and all of that stuff. So yeah, it was way different.
But I knew engineers that if you weren't serious or good, it didn't matter how much money you had, they wouldn't record you because of the amount of work it takes.
Right. Huh.
So, I mean, some people have their own things. I mean, but it was more of a process. Do you think that's what kind of changed with music a little bit, especially with R&B, that the technology got better so people aren't spending as much time on it?
To be honest, I don't know if I can only relate that to R&B. I mean, I think in general, the way people create, the way people uh, get put out, and the way people process music is a bit different and a lot quicker. You know, it's a lot. That doesn't, and that's not to slight the quality of anything. That's not a,
Mm-hmm.
that's not me saying it's whether it's good or not. There's still some good music out now, but I think the whole process is just about getting things done quicker. I think that's kind of the whole idea of making technology to make things convenient. Although, I prefer a lot of times to take the longer route. Just me as a recording artist and as a producer, I prefer to take the longer route. It actually, if a song that I do uh, requires, for example, what do you call it, auto tune or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. If it requires it, I'd much rather they put it on after. Like if that's the whole feel or sound of the record, because it throws me off when I sing.
Yeah.
I can't sing with it on. But I know that some people are used to it or it helps them or whatever, what have you. But, it might help me later, but it doesn't, it throws me off while I'm singing to hear auto tune on my voice.
Yeah. No, and I'm exactly the same way. And I have some people that come to my studio and I just tell them, hey, record it raw, and I'll do that afterwards. They're like, man, I'm used to having so it's definitely what people, I guess the standard, if you will, now.
Yeah, but like I said, times change and
You got to change with them.
things change, but that doesn't mean, the old way doesn't still work.
Yeah, absolutely. So I ask this a lot of my question, but I love it because I get such different answers from different people. But in your mind, what is a hit? What is a classic?
I mean, I don't know if it, I think a classic is a song that people that had a certain amount of popularity and had an effect on people, and then many years later it still has that same effect. It's still around and people still feel the same way that they felt when they heard it the first time, even if it's their first time hearing it, they feel the same way that the generation that heard it for the first time felt. So I think that is what constitutes a classic in terms of the fans, and the people that's receiving the music. As one that makes music, I mean, I've certainly been blessed to have a couple of songs that I know are considered classics, but I can't tell you that going into create them, I knew that's what it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you got a hot record, you got a single, you know what I mean, it's a radio hit or whatever, but I can't tell you that I ever know, oh, this is going to be around, it's a blessing though.
Did you ever have one that did turn out like that and you never thought it, because sometimes you hear, as a musician, you hear songs that you sometimes don't like, or something happened during it that did you ever have one that you were like, man, I never thought that would have been as hot as it was?
Um, I can certainly think of a couple, but I mean, I don't, I guess that means, okay, for example, as soon as I get home, my single of my first album, yeah, I mean, in making that song, I was enjoying the creative process, but I was also going through a lot emotionally in my new marriage and my relationship. So, I can't say that I knew that was going to be a classic.
Yeah.
You know, I was pouring my heart out. I knew I was stacking those harmonies good, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it was going to be a classic song.
Yeah, and you know, all your albums topped the Billboard charts when you did it. So I'm not just trying to say songs, you know, in general, but I'm really curious on that because I know there's people prep different and hear it different. And so, you know, one thing I got to say is congratulations to all your success because, I mean, every time you release something, you top the Billboard charts, and that's not easy to do. I think people get a an idea in their mind that someone's a really good artist and does that, but even as a really good artist, it's not easy to do.
Well, I haven't done that every time, but thank you for the compliment. But
The first three, right? The first three though.
well, my first and I think all of my major label releases did pretty well.
Yeah.
Um, However, of course, I had a lot more commercial success. That was a whole time, and it was just all great. However, pretty much Grammy nominated and critically recognized, but at the same time, they didn't sell much. So being a good artist,
Yeah.
there's a lot of factors that go into those things these days, as opposed to back then.
Absolutely. Now you also did a book.
Yes.
What was that like? You know, I mean, because a completely different process from music, and then you know, have to think about, hey, maybe stuff you don't want to think about to put in there and whatnot. So what was that like actually detailing yourself in the book?
Um, it was that there was certain times during writing my autobiography that I certainly had to put my emotions to the side or my anger at how things turned out with certain. But to be quite honest, the person I chose to collaborate with me, Aaliyah King, she used to be a writer for like a lot of the top magazines. She actually wrote, I believe, the Vibe cover story, that the last Vibe cover story when my third album came out, and
Oh,
she,
awesome.
where I'm from, and she just had a certain just vibe about her that I really like. So when I started thinking of collaborate with, I thought of her first because she knew a lot about. She knows where I come from. She knows a lot about what it's like to, you know, come from there, and she just seemed to be very unbiased when
Mm-hmm.
she did even the Vibe interview. She did her job, but at the same time, I felt a certain energy that wasn't just that pushy. Being a messy journalist. She was very, she cared about what I wanted to express as well at that time because there was a lot going on.
And
Um,
that's important. That's really important.
but being frank with you, even in writing the book, there were certain things that I said to her. I'm gonna tell you the whole story, but everything ain't for everybody. So yeah, we might tell this story, but it's not my job to tell someone else's business or to tell what they were doing at that place. All I can do is tell you what happened with me.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
things that I had to be tactfully honest about because that's just how I am as a person. But other than that, I enjoyed it. I was actually I was pregnant with my last child, my son Ryder, and I was in the process of, well, I had just decided I wasn't going to do another album with Capitol Records because they got bought out a couple of years after I did two albums with them, but they came out in the same year. But a couple of years after that, they were bought out, and my deal wasn't based on what it should have been, or my standing as an artist. It wouldn't have been based on the same grounds that them signing me was based on because those people were gone, and I didn't feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was going to say, was the anticipation different from? Can you hear me? You're Yeah, you're back. Think so. Can you hear me good? see here.
Might be a great area.
IG. Can you hear me now?
I sure do.
Okay. Was the anticipation different waiting for the book to hit the shelves from an album hitting the shelves? Was it a different feeling?
Well, there's a whole nother story to that. With my book release, when the when the companies finally the publishers have finally decided to release the book, it happened to be around the time that the Notorious movie was going to be released. And although they were two separate things, and my writing the book, was just me deciding that this is what I'm going to do since I'm not doing an album right now. I just didn't feel comfortable with the timing. And so I never toured. I never went on a tour to promote the book or anything. So although I was excited for it to come out, I think my excitement was certainly dampened a little bit by the fact that I was trying to do the right thing with morally, and
Yeah.
just kind of not have people think I'm trying to ride off the coattails of the Notorious movie, you know what I mean, to promote my book. So, but it's still a cult classic. It's pretty popular, and it won a couple of awards, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely and quite an accomplishment too, with everything you've already accomplished. I mean, it's not easy to write a book, especially about yourself, even with help, even with a co-writer. It's a tough job.
It took a while. It took the whole pregnancy.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
it's a lot of work.
And we both were pregnant at.
Oh wow. We getting cut out again. Let's see here.
I went.
Can you hear me? Or are we cutting out? Okay, for sure. So, I did see a question on there. One of the fans asked if you ever thought about doing a gospel album. Did you hear me? Let's see here. I think we.
I didn't. I kind of want to wait a bit till I really feel like it's right and the situation is right. I don't know. I don't think it's the right time right now. I mean, right now is not the right time for me to do any album right this minute, but I think I'm gonna wait a bit.
Yeah. This 2020, I tell you, has been unprecedented. So, it's tough. I mean, a lot of people having the show, they should be on tour, or they should be here, they should be doing this. So 2020 has been an adjustment for everybody, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So what is, if you were to give any advice, and to artists coming up, what would be your advice to them, taking into account again what we're talking about with technology, how everything's easier? What would be some of the best advice you could give them?
Man, to be quite honest, right, given this current change in things, I would have to seriously think about that, because that hasn't been.
You're cutting out for sure. Let's see if I can fix this.
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Luckily, I am also a writer, so I'm able to have different revenue streams. I think that's certainly the most ideal situation as a recording artist, is to also be a writer. So I think now I would say, if you are not one, then you better learn how to be one, because
Absolutely.
that's really that can be a lifelong revenue stream if things go well.
Well, because believe it or not, even though it's so easy, people don't look up what publishing is and what being a writer is and what any of the main business part of the music. A lot of people don't ever even do the research on it.
Oh, Well, I mean, I guess in that I was a writer already before I was a recording artist. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I sang all my life, but like I said, writing and doing those things were a hobby for me. So it was just, God's plan. That I was able to use it in the career that I didn't know I would have. But I was always, it's funny because I was just telling my husband the other day that I used to I met this lady that used to work for BMI when I wrote one of the gospel records that I recorded. And I remember walking it up to BMI, I got the address, and I had my handwritten.
You can still hear me, right?
So later on, when I got my record deal and was actually, turning in songs that were going to be released, she was laughing. She was like, "I remember you used to come up here," but she taught me basically a lot about how to understand the whole publishing thing. Her and my first attorney, Stuart Levy. So I've always been kind of on top of that part of it, even beyond the knowing what my record deal totally said. I made sure my splits was turned in
Yeah.
properly.
I mean, it's, a lot of people call it the music business, but in reality, it's the business of music, and a lot of people don't understand that
Yeah.
part of it.
I mean, right now I don't
Absolutely.
understand it. It's become something else. So I think it's really a matter of being just, you gotta just really put on your thinking cap, and figure things
Yeah.
out and figure how to finagle whatever little bit of something you have. If you have some eyeballs on you, you know, some ears listening,
Yeah. I gotta ask, did you watch the verses last night?
I was actually on the road driving, but I tuned in for about 15 minutes and I made a little comment and had to get back to watching the road.
What did you think about it? As far as to see, wasn't that just amazing to see?
Their commercials were great, but
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was awesome. That they stepped into that arena. You know, and right, and that there's something like that. While people are paying a little bit more attention to pay homage to legends like them,
Yeah.
at least
That was
the generation. Everybody doesn't grow up knowing what good music is. I
yeah.
know that.
Well, we talk about it all the time on the show. It's like my generation, we grew up listening to our parents' records and we listened to everything: jazz, gospel, blues, rock. And so when we started doing hip hop, we incorporated all that into what we were doing. And this generation just kind of grew up to a certain type of hip hop or a certain type of R&B. So that's all they know. So it was beautiful to see something like that, because the younger viewers are watching. They are watching.
Right.
So I definitely, it was great to see legends. So absolutely. Well, I know you on the road and everything. So before we let you go, anything new that you got going on that you want the people to watch out for? Anything I left out that you wanted to talk about?
I mean, not so much. I mean, shout out to everybody who chimed in, who's on here today, to all my faithfuls and to all your fans, and thanks again for having me. I mean,
Absolutely.
I can't say I'm not recording music at all, but it's just kind of just a little more sporadic than probably my fans would like right now. But everybody's going through something, and we have 10 children amongst us, me and this guy. So, and my 13-year-old is on the autism
Salute,
spectrum,
salute,
and
salute.
we've been dealing with a lot of the school system stuff and just kind of homeschooling him. So that takes a lot of time and energy. So that's kind of been the.
I'm right there with you. I'm Mr. Mom, homeschool during the day, and studio rat at night. So I'm right there with you.
like him.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for blessing us. Obviously, you have a home here whenever you need it. Anything you have going, anything you need from us, we right there with you. We love you. You're still beautiful as ever. We
Thank
still
you.
love your music like it was brand new. And you know, we can't wait to see what's coming more.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna DM you my number. Or I'll get your number from Kai.
Yeah. Get my number, and then yeah, anything you need, please don't hesitate to reach out for anybody. Just let us know.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good
The
one.
one and only Faith Evans in the house. Salute.
This is Jordan in the house.
Let's see here. There you go. Salute, homie. I appreciate it.
God bless you.
All right. I think, yeah, there we go. Okay. Beautiful episode. What's the Word podcast? Man, how dope was that, right? I appreciate everybody tuning in. This will be saved. It will go on the website. It will go on the YouTube, and we'll definitely get it in. Obviously, there was a little bit of, technology as it is, but that's okay. We deal with that. What's the Word podcast? We'll be back on Saturday. I will have, I'll know who the guests are tonight, so I'll definitely let you guys know that. And Kai, I see you. Kai, send her my number. And yeah, that's the way it goes. What's the Word podcast? We will definitely see everybody next Saturday. For anybody that wants to go see Sincere, I'm gonna get at you too. I saw your message. 97. Thank you. Appreciate the interview, homie. I see you. Again, the replays you can go subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be back on Saturday. You know what I mean? We'll be back. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Now I got to go back to the studio. So share it, subscribe. Every Saturday we have shows. So please tune in with me. You know what I mean? Rest in peace to Nip. He behind me. My homie got my back right there. Lakers tomorrow. Lakers on Friday. Let's see what happens with the Clippers tomorrow. But it's What's the Word podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see everybody Saturday, 5 p.m. Peace.